On July 31st, the New Hampshire Supreme Court sent out a two-sentence press release. Chief Justice Gordian Knot was taking a medical leave, effective immediately. Out of respect for his privacy, no further details would be shared. 2 days earlier, the Judicial Conduct Committee had quietly filed formal charges against his former Supreme Court judicial colleague, Anna Barbara Hance Marconi. Now, I want you to sit with that gap. 2 days! One day before, the Attorney Disciplinary Committee received documentation for an ethics complaint against Jane Young, Gordian Knot's attorney. The ethics complaint is about her representation of McDonald in his capacity as Supreme Court Chief Justice. Now, here's something else I want you to sit with. On October 23, 2024, under oath to investigators, Hance Marconi said she told Chief Justice Gordian Knot she was planning to meet with Governor Sununu about her husband, and that he raised no objection. She wanted to meet the governor to discuss the inconvenience for her and her family. Her husband was facing criminal charges. Now, 2 months before that, on August 2nd, 2024, McDonald told investigators from the Attorney General's office with his own lawyer, Aaron Cregan, sitting beside him, that the meeting was, quote, news to me. Both of those statements are sworn. Both are on the record, and they cannot both be true. One of them is lying. Either the Chief Justice McDonald or his Associate Justice Barbara Hance Marconi. Nobody has investigated that contradiction. Not the Attorney General, not the Judicial Conduct Committee. Nobody! So a Democratic executive counselor, Karen Lyon Hill, did something almost nobody else was willing to do. She asked in writing to the Attorney General, who's actually in charge of the courts right now. I'm Grace Gatto. This is the story New Hampshire's institutions really don't want told on the record. Let's untie the knot. The man on medical leave. Gordian Knot has been Chief Justice since March 2021. Appointed by Governor Sununu after 4 years as Attorney General. Before that, a litigation partner at Nixon Peabody in Manchester. On July 31st, he stepped away on medical leave without warning. The 4 remaining justices wished him full recovery and said court business would continue without interruption. Oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court resumed September 22nd. Now, there's something else worth knowing about the man overseeing every judge in this state. Reportedly, he's been in the middle of his own divorce litigation for 5 years, allegedly unresolved. And throughout it, he sits at the top of the chain of authority over the very judges hearing his case. I can't make this stuff up. God. All right, so in 2023, one of those judges, former family court judge David Burns, suggested bringing an out-of-state judge to avoid the appearance of a conflict. The case stayed in New Hampshire anyway, under McDonald's ultimate authority. None of that proves misconduct in his own case. But it's the kind of structural conflict that makes you ask what else in this small state with a small legal clique is being decided by people who report one way or another to each other. The formal charges against former Associate Justice Barbara Hance Marconi, filed on July 29th, lay out a timeline in more detail than anything reported before now. They also avoid mentioning any statements allegedly made by Chief Justice Gordian Knot during depositions about the Hance Marconi case, which is curious because the governor and other official statements are included. Gordon MacDonald is no less of a witness than they are, and now he's disappeared. Backing up, on April 19, 2024, Hans Marconi's husband, Gino Marconi, then director of the state's Division of Ports and Harbors, is placed on leave and told he's under criminal investigation. That same day, she calls the Port Authority Board Chair, Stephen Dupre, asking for, quote, basic information. Dupre later told investigators the call was, quote, very appropriate. She didn't cross a line. He also called it, quote, very awkward, and said he only took the call because she was a sitting justice. Now, a funny aside, Dupre is the New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence's landlord. Because of the perceived conflicts of interest for her as justice while her husband was being criminally charged, she recused from all Department of Justice cases that same month. Then, June 3rd, she emails Governor Sununu's office from her official court account. Signature block reading, Associate Justice, New Hampshire Supreme Court, requesting a meeting about, quote, a personal matter involving a member of my immediate family. They met June 6, 10 minutes. Governor Sununu's counsel, Rudy Ogden, sat in. Sununu later called it, quote, awkward, weird, quasi-inappropriate, but not illegal. He appointed Hans Marconi to the bench. October 2024, a Merrimack County grand jury indicts Hans Marconi on 7 criminal charges and some felonies. Attorney General John Formella publicly stated that they had carefully considered the grand jury indictments before issuing the charges. A year later, October 7, 2025, she pleads no contest to only one new Class B misdemeanor. The original 7 are dropped. Guilty finding misdemeanor $1,200 fine. Within hours of the no contest plea, the Supreme Court published a welcome back letter with one proviso that Hans Marconi would need to be reinstated by the Attorney Discipline Office before resuming her place on the bench. But here's the catch. The letter was led by Chief Justice Gordon MacDonald, a key witness in her case. His legal counsel, Aaron Cregan, argued he shouldn't have to testify under oath during her trial. Worse, Gordon MacDonald's current legal counsel is Jane Young, who happened to be on the screening committee of the Attorney Disciplinary Office. Closed circuit. A few weeks after her plea, her husband, Gino Marconi, pleaded guilty to a separate charge entirely knowingly, providing confidential motor vehicle records on Neil Levesque, vice chairman of the Port Authority, to Bradley Cook, then chairman of the Ports and Harbors Advisory Council. The sentence, 30 days in the House of Corrections, fully suspended, $2,000 fine, forced resignation. 2 public officials got off lightly. Now, in a sworn statement this past January, Hans Marconi affirmed that the Governor Sununu meeting was, quote, ill-advised and may have created an appearance of impropriety. She retired February 12, 2026, at the mandatory age of 70. The JCC investigation is still open underneath her, but her pension is still intact. The formal charges allege clear and convincing evidence she violated the Code of Judicial Conduct, failing to comply with the law and failing to act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the judiciary. The hearing runs December 7th through 9th at One Reddit Place in Concord. Through her attorneys, she says she already acknowledged the violation, already accepted responsibility, and called a full trial, quote, unnecessary. That's her position on the record, and it deserves to be heard as clearly as the charges against her. In addition, former Associate Justice Barbara Hans Marconi and her husband Gino Marconi have an ongoing lawsuit against the state and the Attorney General's office for the legal ordeals they have been put through. One commentator remarked that the AG's office was in colonoscopy. The contradiction nobody has investigated. Let's get into it. So, here's the piece I can't stop turning over. In a motion to dismiss filed October 23, 2024, Hans Marconi stated under oath in a sworn affidavit she had informed Chief Justice MacDonald of her intent to request a meeting with Governor Sununu, and the Chief Justice raised no objection. 2 months earlier, August 2, 2024, MacDonald sat down with investigators from the Attorney General's office. His own counsel was present. He told them the meeting was, quote, news to me, that he, quote, did not know she was going to see the governor. Read those back to back. One of them is not telling the truth. Maybe it's an honest disagreement about what was actually said in some hallway conversation years ago. Memory is an imperfect thing, even under oath. Or maybe it's something else entirely. Okay, so what I know for certain is this. Nobody with subpoena power has ever been asked to resolve it. Not the Attorney General's office, which took MacDonald's statement and moved on. Not the Judicial Conduct Committee, which, as court watchdog Dana Albrecht testified to the legislature this year, technically answers to the very court it's supposed to police, the Supreme Court. The fox guarding the penthouse. The fox guarding the henhouse. That's not my line. That's testimony to the House Judiciary Committee. Let's talk about the $50,000. MacDonald has faced scrutiny before this year, and it has nothing to do with Hans Marconi. Diane Martin was MacDonald's chief of staff when he was Attorney General, and Jane Young was his associate. When he became Chief Justice, Diane Martin followed him to the judicial branch where he appointed her as director of the administrative office of the courts. The attorney's disciplinary office falls under the administrative office of the courts. So are you starting to see a problem? Oh my god, this state is so funny. So, in February of 2025, Diane Martin was abruptly let go. What followed, according to sworn testimony from the judicial branch's own HR manager, Suzanne Gelinas, was a month-long, carefully engineered exit. One that let Martin collect nearly $50,000 in benefits while being immediately rehired into a newly created position. Gelinas testified that interim AOC Director Judge Christopher Keating told her that Martin, quote, needed access to some money and to keep the arrangement, quote, as discreet as possible. When Suzanne Gelinas asked where the instructions were coming from, Judge Keating told her, quote, this is not my idea. This is coming from the chief, Gordian Knot. There were 6 or 7 drafts of the layoff letter, marked up in red and blue ink each time. The final version included an upgraded salary because, in Gelinas' words, Martin, quote, was dictating what her rehire was going to be. So the termination letter, April 1st, offer letter, April 2nd, new job, April 4th, and that 3-day gap triggered the payout. Investigators later found Martin had already collected a separate payout of over $10,000, leaving a previous state job in 2021. Something Gelinas testified she was never told, but it's very likely that 2 people would have known about it, Jane Young and Gordian Knot. The same day, Martin was let go. Another judge told Gelinas, this is a direct quote from sworn testimony, to, quote, get rid of that fucking MOU, end quote, referring to the one agreement giving outside personnel oversight over the judicial branch's HR office. His reasoning, also sworn testimony, quote, it's none of their fucking business what we do over here, end quote, It is our fucking business. We pay Judge Keating, Justice McDonald, and Marconi, as well as Diane Martin. They're tax dollars. F this guy. So, Suzanne Gelinas reported her concerns to the State Division of Personnel in March of 2025, telling them that the taxpayers of New Hampshire were, quote, basically almost defrauded. 1 month later, she was fired. She had been a human resources professional for like 30 years. She lasted 5 months at the judicial branch under Gordian McDonald. The cleanup restoring the outside HR oversight the branch had just gutted cost taxpayers $400,910 over 2 years. It also cost a lot more public trust in the consequences of abuse of public office and the destruction of the ethical walls between branches of government. The Attorney General reviewed the Martin payout and found no criminal conduct, but noted in his own words that best practices were not followed, while acknowledging his office had no oversight authority over the judicial branch at all. Let's go over the other knots. The commission. Now, before any of this, Hans Marconi sat on the governor's commission on domestic and sexual violence alongside Amanda Grady Sexton and Lynn Gillette. When Grady Sexton pushed for a grant, Hans Marconi said no, worth remembering before anyone paints her as simply one more insider protecting insiders. She was also one of the 3 justices who heard Owen Labree's Supreme Court appeal. 2 colleagues recused. She didn't. It would be in the public interest to know what the reasons for the recusal were. Let's talk about the predecessor. One more name. Robert Lynn. McDonald's predecessor as Chief Justice retired in 2019, now an elected state representative. New Hampshire's legal and political class is small enough that everyone eventually sits on the same commissions and hears the same appeals, answers to the same gatekeepers. That's not automatically corruption. It's exactly the structure corruption is comfortable hiding inside. Now let's follow the money. Marcy's Law in 2017. In October 2017, Jane Young organized a meeting at Concord City Chambers promoting a ballot measure called Marcy's Law. The agenda lists the presenters as Gordian McDonald and Lynn Gillette. The mayor of Concord was paid. Councillor Amanda Grady Sexton was paid. Multiple law and lobbying firms were paid. Documented in Marcy's Law. Own 2018 tax filings, first published by NHPR. McDonald, then the sitting attorney general, went on to headline the TV and streaming ad campaign. We don't know whether McDonald or Young personally received payment for their role, but we filed under the Right to Know law, and we're waiting. And the freshest thread, on or about October 27, 2024, 10 days after the AG's referral against Hans Marconi, the judicial retained a communications firm, PK Communications, at $10,000 a month. A court system hiring crisis communications isn't inherently sinister, but the timing that puts that contract right at the moment the branch knew internally a sitting justice was under formal investigation, like weeks before the public knew anything at all. The contract itself is an eyebrow-raising read. So here's where we are. A Chief Justice on unexplained medical leave 2 days after formal charges landed against a colleague. 2 sworn statements about the same conversation that cannot both be true, and nobody has been asked to reconcile any of it. A 30-year HR professional who called it fraud and got fired for saying so. A $400,000 cleanup bill and a hearing, finally, on the calendar. What I know, December 7th through 9th, 9 a.m., 1 Granite Place, a real date on a real calendar. Somebody is finally going to have to answer some real questions in a room under scrutiny. They can't manage away with a press release. Will Chief Justice Gordon MacDonald be back from his medical leave? Stay tuned. We'll be there, receipts and remods, every time. I'm Gracie Gatto, and I'll see you on the other side.